Mr. Ricky Bretherton from Vexcon and the Billy the Exterminator TV show is joining us for a couple of seconds. Hey, Mr. Ricky, welcome back to KEEL. How you been?
Hey, I've been doing great, Robert. How about yourself?
Well, there's all this talk, all this hubbub, a lot of back and forth about whether or not Fairgrounds Field, the old baseball field, needs to be renovated, restored, and or saved. And somebody brought up not too long ago that there was an episode that you guys did about 10 years ago, where you and Billy and some of your team went to Fairgrounds Field and faced the same problem, albeit in a more limited way, the problem we as a city face now, i.e. bats. What do you remember about that episode?
Well, I tell you, what I remember is bats were just flying around us everywhere. We were clearing out a stairwell section, and as the evening dropped and the bats started to emerge, there were just thousands of them, and they were just pouring all around us, bumping into us. It was a crazy scene, I tell you.
If you were given the job of removing without hurting 30,000 or so bats, how would you do it? How many people would you need? How long would it take? And what would the cost be?
Well, all right. Yeah, it's quite a project. That's the reason it's been going on for so long, is the proper budget hasn't been allocated for the problem. It would take about $50,000 to $60,000. It would take probably a team of 5 to 10 people for about 3.5 to 4 weeks. And what would be involved is you would have to go, the Fairgrounds Field has reinforced concrete, so it takes a little extra hammering drill to get in to set some anchors and some different materials you would need to put in a position where bats can get out safely, and it acts kind of like a one-way door. Once the bats exit in the evening time, when they try to return in the morning time, they will not be able to get back into their roosting area. After you get all of those out, then you have a cleaning process, and then you need to seal out so no bats in the future can move in. But also you have the problem with the bat displacement running into the local neighborhood. So it'd be a very important thing to install bat boxes as well. So if the bats are displaced, they have a place to go.
Let me ask you this, Ricky. The estimates have been upwards of $250,000 to $600,000 to get rid of the bats.
Sure.
Does that sound realistic? And will that involve sealing the building up and cleaning up all the bat duty?
Yeah, there's it has to do with the hazmat involved, the fact that the bats are protected, heavy equipment that would be involved. There is a lot of different types of overheads that would be involved, but the protection of the bats is probably the primary reason.
As a matter of fact, pardon me, they are, what is it, the protected species. They're protected by the federal government.
That is correct.
The term that we hear used all the time is the bats must be relocated. But we can't really find anybody we can't find either on any federal website nor anybody who can explain to us what relocated really means. Can you help us out there?
Well, it's a very nebulous term, of course. You're not really going to be able to find a cave and, get a Pied Piper and say, hey, let's go to this unoccupied cave, So that's why I suggested bat boxes, that sort of thing. It definitely has to be accounted for. It would be a massive problem.
Excuse me, pardon me, let's back up. When you said bat boxes, are you talking about like a little bat corral? You're going to round up all the bats and take them somewhere? Are there Seriously, are there bat havens like there's Chimp Haven?
Well, what a bat box is it's much like a birdhouse, but it's specifically designed for bats. So what you do is it's created by the spacing inside the box. Bats like to have something touching their front side and their back side as they hang upside down.
So does Erin. Oh, I'm sorry. I interjected. I apologize.
Oh.
So, anywho, they get up in these boxes, and they're designed with these special slats to, accommodate that positioning that they like. And it takes a little while. You can put some sinning up in there, and maybe even replace some bat guano from the location of the fairgrounds to the bat boxes. It would help to put up some lights to create, of course, the fairgrounds has lights, but to create, a heavy bug population around that given area to attract them in. And what they do is with their radar, bats have a natural sense of radar, so they identify these locations very well. So they would be able to see that that's a unique location that will accommodate their nesting habits. And then once their current home is sealed off from them, then they'll relocate into these new places. Problem being, is the amount of bats that we're talking about. That's where I'm sure some of the quote-unquote relocation gets challenging, but that's a severe number.
I'm talking to Ricky Bretherton with Vexcon, who did bat work at Fairgrounds Field before. Ricky, this is a dumb question. Of course, I'm the dumb one in the room. It's an open stadium. How are you keeping them? How are you keeping them from? You can't put a dome over the top. How do you keep them from coming back? I mean, you can kick me out of my home for a few weeks and put me in a nice hotel, but I'm always going back to my home.
Right, because that's your nesting material. But if we demolish your home, then there's nothing you can do.
But if we renovate it and make it something new, I might still go back to it.
Well, what it is there's a unique situation where the outer wall foundation of the stadium meets the seating apparatus. As the seating apparatus joins, it creates a specific crack. And that crack in itself is what is so attractive to the bats. They can fit up in there, touch both sides. It's a long space. So once that space is removed, then what the bats are after is gone. So the fact that they can fly around in the stadium or sit on the chairs or something like that, that's not really their behavior. They're specifically after that nesting area. Once that nesting area is removed, then they would simply go about their business.
I would also think that 10-plus years of thousands and thousands, 30,000 bats, is tons of bat droppings. Is that an exaggeration? How toxic is it, and what is the process? How difficult? You just can't power wash it, right?
It's not necessarily. Yeah, it's best that it's cleaned up with a damp towel. So you really wouldn't want to power wash it. You would want to have a light sprinkling of water to make sure it's moist. The biggest problem with guano is when it gets really dry and begins to flake up in little molecules that you can breathe in, and that's extremely toxic. Could lead all the way up to death. So what you would do is put a light water on it to take away that dryness, get it moist. Then you would do a hazmat cleanup with a cloth and a trash bag and all of that, wipe it up. Then once you've got all that up, then you need to come through with enzymes and bleaches and those sorts of things. And then you would be looking at power washing once, you had two or three.
So you've got, go ahead, Erin.
I want to ask you this. If you go in there and you kill the bats, or and you decide we want to tear the stadium down, we don't want to deal with this cost of getting rid of the bats, we want to just wipe them out, so we're going to gas them or whatever we do. And I know, PETA, don't call me. I'm just asking a theoretical. What's the fine? How much does that cost?
What's the fine per bat? Is that how they do it?
Well, my grandchildren would be paying that because I would still be in jail. So
really, they'd lock you. They'd lock you up for killing bats.
Oh my goodness, would they? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
On the 1 to 10 scale, of 1 as being just an impossible job, nobody could do this job, and 10 being, yeah, we can take care of you, cleaning up Fairgrounds Field from the bats, making it, just getting it to the point where you could do something with it. Where would you rate that on 1 to 10?
Oh, it's one of the most challenging problems that you get into. America, we have amazing innovations, and if everybody got together and put the proper team together, the problem could be dealt with a 10. But, as things go, there's many challenges. We have amazing heat here in Shreveport, Louisiana. So, the textbook things get challenging. So I would say with all sincerity, you're probably looking at probably about a 7. There's a lot of challenges.